You probably don't remember doing it. You probably calculated your first standard deviation 48 hours ago. With me, with us in this class. I'm guessing, most of you. Some of you didn't, some of you have done it before. I think that's indicative of Americans in general. And this guy that makes this website, it's called mathwithbaddrawings.com. It's adorable. I gave you the link in the PowerPoint. This PowerPoint is linked from Tuesday. I'll link it again today so you have access to it. What I love about this guy's site is he takes real headlines and then applies statistical literacy to them to rewrite them correctly. So one of my favorites, let's jump to this bottom one first. Just see how this ties into what we've been talking about. Our world, real headline. Unemployment rate jumps from 7.6% to 7.8%. How many of you have seen a headline like that before? I mean, recently even. Yeah. Unemployment rate is constantly talked about, and it's usually tied to a president and how much we hate him. I mean, honestly, if you think about it, unemployment is always tied back to the president, even though that's like when they fire the coach because the team did bad that year. It's like, dude, seriously? And they go, let's get a new coach in. Let's get a new coach in. Team did great this year. That's because the old coach was working his ass off to make them better, and it carried over to this season. The new guy's getting credit for something he had nothing to do with. Look at me started. Anyway. But I'm not even worried about blaming the president. I'm worried about the number 7.6 and 7.8. How did they get unemployment rates?
Did they get it by the amount of people that have applied for unemployment?
Well, let me ask a more general question. Who do they check when they're checking for unemployment rates? How many people do they check? Let's even more general question. How many people do they check when they're checking for unemployment? Do they go check every single working age American? Were you guys checked?
No.
Were you asked? No. So what must have been drawn?
Sample.
A sample must have been drawn, correct? I love your point, and I don't know the answer to it, but we don't have to worry about the answer to it because there must be uncertainty in the result because they didn't ask every single person.
Right.
Which means what has to be applied to that 7.6%? Margin of error. Or the 7.8%? Margin of error.
Margin of error.
So a better headline might be, and the way this guy wrote it is genius. Unemployment rate probably a little under 8%, maybe rising or not, can't really tell. That is what I would call an honest headline of unemployment. Why will you never read it?
Because it's just plain.
Because it's too long, it's too plain, and you can't blame anybody for that.
Right.
Right? Nobody can be blamed for that, which means you can't put it on a blog, which means you can't direct blog traffic to it, which means you can't sell it to advertisement, which means you can't make money off of it. It's capitalistic society, unfortunately, governing the news. It's unfortunate, but that's what Ted Turner gave us with CNN, and it's dribbled down to everything else. I told you guys about the hugs and the fist bumps, right? I didn't say about that either. So, somebody said, I'm a hugger, I'm Italian. Somebody sent me a report from the Washington Post, said, don't hug me. And there's a picture, there's a dude standing like this with a girl like this. It was a perfect extrovert-introvert kind of interaction. Don't hug me. And it was this piece, scientifically, in theory, a scientific piece about why you shouldn't hug. And one of the arguments was for disease spread. A study was done, a British study was done that showed a fist bump was the most hygienic. I don't want a fist bump?
No.
Oh.
I'll do one.
Well, if you just say, let's hit the point. A fist bump is the most hygienic greeting because it has the least skin contact versus a high five or a handshake.
Yep.
And I kept reading, I'm like, where's the hug? Where's the hug? Because they were talking about how hugs are so deadly. So I started thinking about, like, if I hug somebody, like I go up and hug somebody like right now, like total fit. Give a hug, did great. It's a shirt to a shirt, hand on a shirt, maybe the hair on the hair, maybe, but it's not, maybe cheek to cheek, but then you think about the Europeans that greet each other like that, right? Mm-hmm. So, but then I kept thinking about this, but then I read the article. Although hugs weren't included in the British study, this is a quote from the article, although hugs weren't included in the British study, you don't have to think very hard to realize they would have ruled them out as the most virulent form of virus. So in other words, don't bother reading the studies anymore, just whatever opinion you have is scientific fact enough. That's what I read. I mean, it's my opinion that hugs suck, and this study doesn't say that, but it would say that if they included my opinion. It's because they're British, right? This is actually an American who wrote this. The bloke. So the idea is, you gotta pay attention to that, because the blog, don't hug me, hugs will spread disease, a lot of Americans won't stop past that. They'll stop right there. Oh God, stop hugging. Or read. I told you about the bike seats, right? Yeah, read the entire study and see what it's saying. Chances are, it's not saying anything.
But people don't read these things.
I know they don't. That's why I'm so happy you're sitting here with me. So that you will.
I'm a test
Maybe.
administrator for Pearson
Yes.
more often than not, and it's a full page.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll go, okay.
Yep.
And then they'll go in and they're chewing gum against rules.
Okay.
Oh, can I take my water in?
It says right there you can't.
It
It
says
says right there you can't.
They'll get up out of their chair to leave, and it's like, hello?
We are in a hurry. We are in a hurry, right?
Drives me crazy.
Have you ever heard the story about the prof? This is a great story, and I hate to get too sidetracked, but there was a guy, prof gave a final exam in a psych class. This is about 15 years ago. I've been told it's at the University of Oregon, but I know it's not because it's urban myth. It might have never even happened. 100 question or 200 question or some obscene number of question final exam. Instructions at the top: read all questions before beginning. You've heard this? Yeah, you've heard this. So students, oh God, sit down, start going. Number one, number one, number one, number two, number three, number four. Question number 200 is: before answering any other questions, put your name on the top, hand the exam in, and go home. Nobody did it. Also, nobody got to question 200 because the exam was too much to do in the time allotted. And it's just amazing. We don't do that. We don't follow. I'm kind of annoying. I do it to an extreme, which is a little annoying. Like, Jenny, what am I going to do? I'll do it. A little excessive. But we don't. We're in a hurry. And I think it's a vicious cycle. The news media hits us with so much, our Facebook feeds and our Instagram feeds and our email, our automatic email groups, and the news itself is colorful. It's an ADD nightmare for me. So it's hard to focus on what's important, right? What I'm trying to do is to slow down at least part of your life and be able to focus on what's important. Global heat wave, seen a sign of global warming. You will see this, hey, right here. A global warming critic will go, it snowed on October 15th in Bend. How's your global warming doing now? Okay? Or you can realize that a local heat wave is not seen as a meaningful indicator of a global trend. It's an isolated trend. Remember our winter last winter in Bend?
Yeah.
It sucked by winter standards. It was terrible. It was a low snow winter. It only snowed once in town. When it snowed, it was like 3.5 feet. It was friggin' awesome. You guys have a quiz based on that in 2 weeks. I love that data. But it was a crappy winter. Oh, global warming, global warming. Did you look at the rest of the country? They were buried in snow till May. Yeah. So you can't extrapolate what happened in your locale to the entire world. Don't be so provincial. But we are, for whatever reason. Maybe it's human nature. Maybe it's physiology or mental, historical psychology. I don't know. Psychologists tout surprising new findings. This is exactly in the same vein as this one. We found something really cool. How about you go do it again and make sure it happens again before you tout it? Remember I told you the story of Max spinning the roulette wheel and getting black 5 times in a row? Make him do it 5 more times and see if he gets black 5 more times in a row, like I did. Guess what happened? He didn't.
Yeah.
He didn't get black. I think he got 3 red and 2 black, which is exactly what you kind of are supposed to get when you spin it 5 times. So if you get a surprising result, make sure it's not just a random fluke and a butterfly effect. Go see if you can do it again. See if we get 15 winners in a row that all suck. But what's the first thing? I walked into 244 this morning, somebody said we're going to get hammered this winter. Like, what do you mean? Apparently they're calling for a heavier than average snowfall this winter. I have no idea if that's because it snowed yesterday. Maybe it is. It's coincidental that it just happened to come 2 days, or the 12-hour period after they show a picture of a Jeep at Mount Bachelor with 3 inches of snow on it. Maybe. I'm hopeful. But you gotta watch that. You gotta look for long-term trends and long-term patterns, which is why I'm so glad, again, you're sitting here in this room with me. Yes. I'm happy. Hopefully you're just content. You don't have to be happy if you don't want to, as long as you're content. All right, so let's learn some more tools, yes?